And we are going to get started. So thank you, Shih and Ma, for joining us. And thank you for going over this presentation and meditation with us.
Great. All right, hang on. Sorry, okay. So should I stand up? Can you all see me? I guess I can sit, or should I stand up? Doesn't matter. I can't see what I look like. So my name is Shih and Ma, and I welcome you all here. And so glad that you're here. Just 2 minutes about myself. I was raised Catholic. I actually consider myself maybe more spiritual. I'm really interested in mysticism and that side of things. So I've been on retreats with Sufis and with people in the non-dual Advaita Hindu tradition. Main practice is Buddhism. Spent 4 years in India with Amma, the hugging saint in the Hindu tradition. Anyway, I've actually gone on Christian contemplative retreats as well. So I think, to me, I see that there's some similarities. So we're going to talk about Buddhism, and I'll tie some of this back, and then I'm going to speed through some of this because I'm hoping at the end, if you all are interested, to do meditation on interdependence and sameness that actually can be really heart opening and can help us touch back into the truth of what we are. So Buddhism is the fourth largest religion, or some would say a philosophical tradition in the world, 520 million followers, 7% of the world's population. Like most religious traditions, there's a variety of beliefs and spiritual practices. Some aspects of Buddhism only count what the original teachings of the original Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, were. Some, like the Tibetans, believe that there's further on teachings and even some things that adepts have hidden to be revealed when the world needs them. So there is a variety of what's included. The original Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, was born Siddhartha Gautama in the Sakya clan in what is now Nepal. And so he was raised, well, I guess we'll go into that in a minute. So here's diverse beliefs. So here's a kind of an old map, but some would say there's 2 or 3 main schools of Buddhism. The Southeast Asia, Sri Lanka, Theravada, is based on the historical Buddha, and the focus there, at least originally, was awakening as an arhat, actually to awaken to the truth of what we are. The next became Mahayana, so that's Zen, Pure Land, Nichiren, mainly in the countries that you see there. And the focus then became developing bodhicitta and compassion and a determination as a motivation to awaken, to discover the truth, to live the truth of what we are for benefiting all beings. Then some people break off a third school called Vajrayana. Mainly it's Tibetan Buddhism, which was the result of Indian Buddhism going in and merging with or combining with the indigenous Bun tradition, which was actually very shamanic. And so that's in the Himalayan region. It also focuses on bodhicitta, but some of the teachings about where we are or that we actually don't need to get anywhere are more strongly in the Vajrayana. So right now I'm practicing with a Tibetan from Zen because that's what's in State College, but practicing more from that tradition. So this is a book which, I really would highly recommend. If I had a desert island, this is one of my books. This is the person I'm studying with at the moment. But he basically gave up his 3 monasteries and whatever, went on 4 years of wandering retreat and had a near-death experience. So he goes through what's the experience of dying and what was his experience as things collapsed, and also shared a lot about practicalities of working and getting into the train station where he never bought his own ticket and thinking that people were strange and this is not what he had expected, and then what kind of practices and things you can work with it. So it's actually one of my favorite books in the whole world. But when he's talking about, so the story goes that Siddhartha Gautama was this prince and his father wanted him to be the king, so he wouldn't let him go and see anything negative. And one day he was out with his chariot, he got his charioteer and he saw a sick person and a dying person. And then he started to wonder, and then he saw a monk, and that was the start of it. So eventually he walked away from his prospective throne and his family and started practicing. So he started doing what was then severe austerities and things, hanging out with, depriving his body and doing all this stuff. And he still didn't get it. He still didn't, whatever. So like so many things, cross traditions, it really depends on what do we think we are. And this is a pointing at mostly from I love this pointing. So if we think that we're sinners and we are this is how I bridge Buddhism with a lot of other religions. We think we're sinners and we are this kind of fearful, selfish, self-centered, sniveling thing, then of course there's something else. What this is saying is that we get caught in our minds, we get caught in our conditioning, maybe we get caught in our karma, and we don't realize the truth of what we are. So when the Buddha finally just decided, after years of trying, because there's people in India who basically, sadhus they call, and they basically, for instance, would sit down, and this is a Hindu tradition, would like hold their arm up for years, right, as a way to try and use their body to tame their mind or to wake up. And eventually the arm gets really skinny and whatever because it's not getting nourished. And the Buddha tried that and decided it wasn't working for him. So he finally decided to sit down and just directly observe his experience, which is what he did under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, and just to watch what was going on. So what he discovered, this is Mingyur Rinpoche, what he discovered is that our true nature is already awake, is already perfect as it is, and that what he initially sought to attain was already within him and present. Then the insight that the Buddha discovered is so simple, yet it's difficult to accept because we've been, at least for me, been conditioned about this is who we are and there's this thing and whatever, and so we need to keep striving, right? This is a paradox of the Buddhist path, so that we practice in order to know what we already are. So therefore, there's nothing to attain, nothing to get, nowhere to go. We're just seeking to recognize and to stabilize the recognition of what is already here. So Gautama Buddha, Siddhartha is an example and inspiration. So a Buddha is one who's attained wisdom, who knows the truth of reality. But Gautama Buddha didn't set himself up as God, as a savior, as the only Buddha. So there's all kinds of Buddhas. And the person sitting next to you could really be a Buddha, even if they're not a Buddhist. Do you understand? Right? It's totally possible. So the assumption or the...
I'm sorry, I'm just making sure everybody can get
sorry.
it. Okay, no questions.
Okay, so the point being, and the fundamental assumption, kind of like in math, there's axioms, right? And everything, the whole system is built on axioms. So the axiom about who and what do you think you are, right? A sinner or whatever, like I grew up Catholic or whatever. But the assumption here, and it can be experienced, is that all beings have Buddha nature. All beings, it's not just even limited to humans. And so the point is to recognize it, to stabilize that recognition, and to live from or as it, because that's what happens if it's stabilized. Or in the moments, Jack Kornfield, one of the Buddhist teachers and a psychologist, he says, well, there's no such thing as enlightenment retirement, right? So I got to work with that myself. But in the moments when things are expanded and are open-hearted and we're settled and we live as it, and in the other moments, practice is to come back to it. So this is basic Buddhism, and we'll just suffer there's four noble truths people you may have heard about: the truth of dukkha, suffering and dissatisfaction, the cause of suffering, and this is what the Buddha articulated, the cause of suffering, and so we'll get into that. The end, that it's possible to end suffering, and that particular ways of working with the mind, which don't necessarily mean you have to follow, all, to my mind, all of the Buddhist rituals and things, but there there are ways, not just defined to Buddhism, that can free us from suffering, okay? So Buddhism, and this is my interpretation, right, how I've been practicing, applying the teachings is not necessarily believing in all this doctrine. The Buddha, as he was dying, was supposed to have said, don't just believe me, try it and see for yourself. So when we talk about ending suffering, pain, old age, sickness, and death are inevitable. Suffering is optional. Suffering is the perception, the other things that we lay on top of whatever is going on, okay? So we all seek freedom, freedom in the largest sense of the word, to end dukkha, fundamental dissatisfaction, that on the 30,000 level view, that attachment, that fundamental dissatisfaction is caused by attachment, aversion, and ignorance, right? So this is a 30, I mean, there's lots more complicated, but the 30,000 level, 30,000 foot view, attachment or greed, aversion or hatred, right? I want more of this, I never want it to end, right? I want so-and-so, or I want this new car, or I want the weather to always be like this, or I always want to be happy, right? Aversion, I hate this, I can't stand this, hatred, those people, this thing. I mean, if we look inside, we're really honest, right? We all do this. And ignorance, which is really the ignorance of the true nature of reality. That is, all things are impermanent, right? Because and there's an interdependence. And when Buddhists talk about emptiness, it's not that things are nihilistically empty. It's that the separate self, a separate independent self, permanent self does not exist, even though we think it does, right? So the question, I think this is some of the things across across religious traditions or whatever, is like, how do you get there, back down to precepts that I was talking about with Colin earlier? How do you get there? What are the things that support the discovery or the living in this view, this pure perception, we call it, it can be called. So there's called right view or right on. So there's the Eightfold Path, which, as I said, this is Buddhism at the 30,000 level view. Right view or right understanding, having insight into the true nature of reality. Right intention, the altruistic desire. So you don't want to achieve enlightenment for just yourself. This is one of the things about the Mahayana, about you become a bodhisattva in the Mahayana tradition. You want to become a bodhisattva, so you want to do this because we all know what it's like to suffer and how painful it is. And so when we get glimpses of freedom, then we naturally want to share it with people so that they can end suffering, because we're them. There's not a separation, right? Right speech, so speaking compassionately and bringing clarity. So this is not necessarily a Buddhist thing, but one of the things that, is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? So in terms of when we sit down and look at when are we actually going to speak up? Is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? Right action, which would be compassionate, you can say ethical conduct, right livelihood, non-harm. So the right action, the right livelihood, a lot of it is focused on non-harming. And that's also something that's actually true in a lot of the Indian traditions as well. Right effort, cultivating wholesome states and transforming, recognizing when we're in them and transforming unwholesome ones. So what are the methods and the practices to be able to do that? Right mindfulness, so really paying attention to what's going on in our body, speech, and mind. And then right concentration, which is meditation and other practices. So notice, because I'm going to come back to this later in the larger view, right? So I'm using the word right. That's how it's traditionally defined, but maybe one might call it skillful or something, because at some level of reality, there is no right or wrong, and we'll get to that. Okay, so just don't take it as the rigid rights that most of us grew up with, right? There's a whole nother dimension that we can talk about. So right now, science is actually catching up, in my opinion, catching up to what some of the sages and the practitioners have known for thousands of years. So basically, we can do practices and things that reprogram the mind. And the reason that that works is because of neuroplasticity, right? That we actually can retrain ourselves. And science, as I said, is catching up to that. So in Buddhism, practices include meditation, if you want to say keeping moral precepts or guidance, which to me, a lot of precepts are thermometers that tell me where I'm sitting in my openness, or closer or not so far from living true nature, say. Renunciation, so not getting caught up in attachment and things like that to the worldly things, or the things that, I spent, well, 6 weeks at a silent, no eye contact Zen monastery, wondering if I should become a monk. And I've also that time in Amma's ashram, and there is something that's a lot less, it's kind of distracting to being back here in State College, honestly. That's not in those situations, it's a lot easier to focus. But anyway, and then also the 6 paramitas: generosity, virtue, energy, diligence, concentration, wisdom. But I want to make a particular point, because this is one of my issues, is Kshanti, patience. And I love this definition. This is from a Dalai Lama book by his main translator. Patience, a resolute response against adversity, stemming from a settled temperament, unperturbed by inner or outer disturbance. So try that on for size the next time you're sitting in traffic and it's all backed up or something. But to me, like, I knew this, like, I have a condition, have tendency to be impatient, right? But when I saw that definition, it's like, oh yeah, this gives me something to actually work on or to work with, because my response back down to suffering, my response to adversity, right, is actually related to this inner disturbance of suffering. Okay. If I'm talking too fast, because I am speeding through this, would you please chat to, is the speed okay, you guys? Thumbs up or no? All right. Yes, perfect. All right, then we'll go back to it, because I do want to try and get to this meditation. So Buddhism can be thought of as a science of mind, and you can do the practices and have results without believing in the Buddha. So when my first Zen teacher, primary Zen teacher, Sherry Huber, the most senior student in her, who lived at the monastery, was actually a Catholic nun who had gotten permission to actually live at the monastery and practice Buddhism. And there's, a number of Christian Buddhist groups and this kind of thing. So some of the practices can be useful regardless of what one's, say, religious or spiritual inclination is. Okay. So for instance, Sherry, this is not religious, this is a practice, right? Pay attention to everything, don't believe anything, and don't take anything personally. So if you think about it, right, we get stuck in our beliefs. This is good, this is bad. That's just a belief, it's a thought, right? It's made up in some way. Don't take anything personally, right? If we don't take anything personally, then what happens just happens. And Sherry said, if you take any one of those 3 things, you don't even have to do all of them. If you take any one of those 3 things to its very end, you'll be free, in the capital F kind of sense of the word free. Right, so it's not a matter of, I believe in the Buddha, I believe in whatever. I mean, these are just practices and things you can do. Okay, so then the ultimate question to me spiritually, right, is who or what am I, and what is this reality? And this is the question that I believe has been asked by mystics and so in religions, there's the exoteric. Is it a church? Is it a mosque? It's the outside. Is it a temple, right? Is it a puja? Is it a mass? Whatever. That's the exoteric. Then there's the esoteric side of religions, which the esoteric side, which is actually the spiritual heart of the religions. And this is where I believe, and in my experience, that things come together. So the mystics are aiming for that particular aspect of it. So who, what am I? What is this reality? That's the fundamental question, however you get to it, right? And there's other ways to do it. There's lots of ways. The mystics across traditions have ways in their tradition that they work with this. So, but this is one way to look at it. So we can have an unhealthy sense of self. That is, we're permanent, independent, and a separate singularity. Me, myself, I exist from when I was a child to when I was, and I'm independent. This, I studied some shamanism, and the teacher was an anthropologist, and he said that this culture that we're living in, which is actually based, let's face it, on mostly on Western European culture, and normative is actually, excuse me, I believe more like male, right? What's considered normative, right? That it's the most individualistic culture in the world, right? So we end up with permanent, independent, separate singularity in this culture. So it's built of this, the sense of separate self is built on ideas, feelings, perceptions, which we then conceptualize as a solid, separate self. Okay, so from what Sherry said is, it's a world that never changes in which I know everything. Right? And how many of us live in that world? Oh, so Colin, okay. So it's what in Tibetan, what Mingyur Rinpoche calls the fake relative. Okay, so now I guess I don't have a slide on this, so let's talk a little bit about it. There is the absolute, what is the absolute truth of, if you want to say non-duality, of oneness, of whatever, right? To me, God is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, so there's nothing that's not God. Okay. And then there's the relative, which is there's you and me, and there's you and me, and we're all sitting here like this, and there is a sense of if you want to say separateness or a sense of some differences, there's diversity, right? So and they both exist at the same time. So Norm Fisher, who's a Zen, he wrote a book where he's a Zen teacher that basically talks about the need for us to maintain binocular vision. So the binocular vision, one is the relative, is because compassion, action in the world and things like that can come from the relative, right? Whereas but also not to lose touch with the absolute. So Buddhism talks about wisdom and compassion as being the two wings of a bird. So the two wings of the bird, and in order to fly, the bird needs both wings. So wisdom, that's the wisdom of no self, of emptiness, say, without compassion can be really kind of cold and dry. And compassion without a sense of the bigger picture can actually be manipulative and codependent, right? In its worst sense. So somehow, how do we keep this binocular vision and keep living with both wings of the bird? So that's the first two. The healthy sense of self is then the recognition on the relative plane, the true relative, that what I think I am, right, is impermanent, it's interdependent, and it's multiplicity, and that it changes. Emotions change, thoughts change, right? The body changes. There's all these different aspects. So what it boils down to is, in some level, to be open-hearted with a soft and flexible mind. And when we're living from a healthy sense of self, then naturally we're living with loving kindness, compassion, wisdom, and awareness. Then on the ultimate relative, so this is you want to call it the absolute. When we see this, we might call it pure perception or sacred outlook. It's beyond hope and fear. And this is something that the mind doesn't necessarily grasp, right? It's beyond hope because everything is fine as it is. It's perfect without an imperfect, right? If you think about it, without thought, without getting caught in thought, we can have thoughts, but without actually believing it, getting caught in thought, is there a problem? Or do most of our thoughts, our problems, our suffering, our perception of problems come from believing thoughts, this shouldn't be going on, this sensation in the body means that, right? All those kind of things. So beyond hope and fear, beyond hope because everything is fine as it is, and beyond fear because there's nothing separate from me, quote, I should put that in quotes, I guess, that the I, the sense of self is everywhere and yet it cannot be found. So it's everywhere and nowhere. So there's nothing to fear, because the more sense of separation we have, the more we're likely to fall into fear. Okay, so now I guess we're going to more simple stuff. Sorry, that was kind of philosophical, I guess. Buddhism, karma, and past life. So karma is believed to be the law of cause and effect and would include across incarnations. So Buddhists believe in karma and past lives. Tibetans tend to speak of more of past lives than others. So the Dalai Lama is the 14th in his lineage. But it's interesting because past lives are not like a string of pearls where there's a one-on-one, on the highest level, one-on-one correspondence, but they're like a stack of coins. So somebody asked Tibetan Lama Chogyam Trungpa, he's founder of Naropa University, about what gets reborn. And he says to them, I'm sorry to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, but what gets reborn are our bad habits, or your bad habits. So the belief is that we bring both the, okay, so now I'm talking on the relative, right? Not the good or the skillful things that we've learned from past lives, that we bring those, and then we bring perhaps things, and it could be ours back down to the stack of coins, or the, rather than the thing, or it could be we bring certain things that into this life that we need to work with, certain patterns, certain conditioning, could be the result of its past lives. And anyway, there's a whole thing about how does the consciousness choose where to get reincarnated in, and maybe our family of origin, but some of that may be due to past lives and what we haven't resolved necessarily in this life. Okay, so now back down to philosophy. So Buddhism and God. I love this quote. Thich Nhat Hanh, the late Zen master and poet activist. Your concept or perception of reality, concept, right? Or perception of reality is not reality. When you're caught in your perceptions and ideas, you lose reality. Or Sogyal Rinpoche. It's not that Buddhists don't believe in God, it's that they don't believe in the concept of God. There's also similar wisdoms across traditions. So in Christianity, right, from the Philippians, St. Paul, right, letter of the Philippians, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guide your hearts and minds. So it's beyond mind. It's beyond, transcends all understanding. You don't get it. It's, yes. From Amma, the hugging saint, whom I spent, well, I've been seeing since 1995 and spent those 4 years in India with. God realization is nothing but the ability and expansiveness of the heart to love everything equally. So back down to getting caught in thoughts, getting caught in judgments and this sort of thing, right? Without that, then the heart naturally expands. We're not pushing things away. We're not grasping things. We're not judging. We're not trying to analyze things. Then the natural goodness, wisdom, compassion that we are is manifests and just keeps expanding, and that's God realization. Or Sufism, right? The mystic side of Islam. So Rumi, who I guess is at times, at least 10 or 15 years ago, was the best-selling poet in America. So, and the italics are mine, by the way. So out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. So, how are the ways that we can discover some of this? One way is to use the analytical meditation, to use the mind to see through the mind and dismantle the concepts and conditionings. So one way is, they call it self-inquiry, and it's also used in parts of the Hindu tradition, right? Who or what am I? If we can sit down and look, what is mind? If we turn inward, rather than keep facing outward, turn inward. What is mind? Can you find it? Does it have a shape or size or boundaries? So this is something, as I said, it's not necessarily to follow religion. This is just a practice you can do on your own. You know, if you want things, you can read Sri Ramana Maharshi is one of the first ones who, so he started a whole lineage in Advaita Vedanta, and there's a whole bunch of books, and Gangaji teachers, Gangaji and Muji and other things are following in that tradition, current contemporary teachers. But to sit down and look and say, what is it? What am I? And actually, if you were to read the In Love with the World book by Mingyur Rinpoche, I posted it up there before, he actually works with some of this because he's in some of the things he's dealing with after he left the protection and the privilege and the things, because everybody's always serving him at the monastery. So there's some examples of that. Other things that, this is something that I do every day. 4 thoughts that turn the mind toward the Dharma or toward the truth or toward spirituality, right? Is the preciousness of this human life, right? That there's that I've heard the desert mothers and fathers in the Christian tradition, every day they turn over their cups upside down because they go to bed remembering that they could not wake up in the morning, right? The preciousness of this human life and what an opportunity we have, and let's not waste it, right? Impermanence. Like waves in the ocean, all things are impermanent. I will accept whatever happens and make it my friend. So I just want to pull back to, I just came back from 2 weeks in safari in Tanzania. And some of you all have seen perhaps Lion King and Disney and Hakuna Matata, right? Disney didn't make that up, that's Swahili. And it basically means no worries, no problem. And so when I was, the driver, my guide was driving me to the airport, he was interested in spirituality, so we're having this discussion. And I said, I love Hakuna Matata. And he goes, yeah, he says, everything always changes. So why worry about it? Why get upset about it, right? That's our innate wisdom, right? It's not tied to a particular tradition, religious tradition, it's there. And it comes in all kinds of forms and reflects all over the place, okay? So the next thing, causes and conditions, the karma. When causes and conditions come together, a result is sure to follow. I will do my best to help others engage in positive deeds. So we have a tendency to think about things that just happen, so I'm here in this room, right? But if we really think about it, think about all the causes and conditions from being born, from even before one was born, right? That end up with us together in this moment, in this place and time, doing this, right? And so you have to have the interest in it. I had to have done some of the things I've done. Somebody had to make my clothes, right? Somebody had to do something to feed me and you, that we would have this opportunity. Nature, the earth had to give us rain and air and all of these things. All of these things come together, but we can be so self-focused and things that we forget all of this interdependence. But if you start thinking about it, you cannot actually never finish it. At least that's been my experience. And then suffering. The suffering of beings is mainly produced by the mind, and therefore it's possible to free ourselves from it, right? If the suffering came from outside, this is not the pain part, old age, sickness, and death. This is the suffering part. If the suffering part was coming from outside, then it would be really hopeless, right? We might as well just give up and roll over, right? But because it comes from the mind, there's hope for ways to work with it and suffer. Okay, so back to Thich Nhat Hanh, peace in oneself, peace in the world. Meditation is about awareness. So to me, it's like space, right? It's like there's some knowing that goes on, but we tend to be so focused outward that we don't even, and we tend to think of that awareness as us, as me, okay, as me and my separate self. So when you do meditation, you can do meditation with support. That means stepping back somewhat to stay more in contact with the awareness. And the breath actually is a common support across traditions. So you know, and we'll work with this. This is why I'm speeding through, so we have 15 minutes at the end to do this meditation, okay? Then there's also awareness meditation without support. So if you just let go, you're really tired, you've gone and you've exercised, you come back and you're exhausted, you sit down and the sun is setting and you just sit, the mind just drops. And then what is it? What's left? There's no problem, there's no suffering, right? In some ways, perhaps there's not such a separate sense of self, there's just awareness, because if there weren't awareness, there would be no knowing of any of this. Awareness, cognizance, knowing, right? Things are as they are. So that's, anyway, that would be, so we have glimpses of it between breaths. Sometimes if the mind isn't running, there's a gap, right? Or if we're yawning or sneezing, sometimes there's a gap and there's this mind opening. Most of the time, we're just not aware of it. Okay, so here's some advice from some folks, and I've adapted it because I use it from the Zen and the Tibetan tradition, right? So cultivate, can you imagine to having a soft and flexible mind, seeing the world as it is without projection, blame, or judgment. All right, without comment, analysis, or making excuses. So let me come back in case some of you don't know projection, right? Projection from a psychological standpoint, projection is, you know, when I see you, I don't actually know what's going on with you. It's just, I imagine, and we do this to each other all the time. I imagine if I look like you and I had that expression on my face and I had that, I'm saying whatever you're saying with that tone of voice, then you're happy, sad, mad, you love me, you hate me, whatever, right? The truth is, I actually don't know. If we're really honest about it, we don't know. We're always projecting. So it's, if I look like that and said that in those words and that tone of voice, that would mean blah, blah, blah. And that's, and then we project on each other and then we assume it's true and we harden it up and we live it. So without projection, blame, or judgment, without comment, like this really shouldn't be going on, right? Or well, that's actually judgment. Or I really like this, that's still more judgment. Or even that's a tree, right? Things exist as they are in appearances, and then we go through and the mind starts putting labels on it, and then we start creating a duality, okay? Or analysis, you know, or making excuses. So try that. I mean, I don't know. If people are interested in this presentation, I'm happy to send Colin a PDF and he can send it all out with you guys if it's at all helpful. You can let us know at the end. I'm doing a lot of talking these days. Okay, so this is just my favorite teachers and resources, Mingyur Rinpoche, whom I'm currently working with. He has got a program on Joy of Living. It's a secular, non-Buddhist course about to get us more in touch with, it's online, but it's not Buddhist, it's totally secular, okay, but it's the practices. Pema Chodron, the Dalai Lama, Tibetan Book of Living and Dying is also really good. Sherry Huber, my first Zen teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, who just passed away, and Jack Kornfield, who was actually a Peace Corps volunteer, and then he stayed and became a monk, and then he came back to the US and became a psychologist. Well, first he was a taxi driver, and then he was a psychologist, and he's one of the elders in the Theravada tradition, started Spirit Rock Meditation Center, and but he's got some really, to me, I love his books and his teachings because he manages to blend really well, to articulate and blend the philosophical, or if you want to say Buddhist part, with the psychological. Okay. So does anybody, let's take maybe 5 minutes because it's 20 of, and we're going to end on time, I think. It's 20 of 11. If anybody has any questions or comments for 5 minutes, and then we're going to do this meditation.
We have a comment, I just can't get
Yes.
the whole of it here.
Yes, Matthew, thank you. Yes, in Buddhism, wisdom and compassion are known as prajna and karuna. Yes, that's true. Yes, please. Yes, please. What?
Oh, for the PDF, I believe.
Oh, the PDF. Okay. So I'll send it to, I guess that's a PDF. So I'll send it to Matthew or give it to him and he'll send it out to you all. Anything else? Okay, well then, let's move on, then we'll have 20 minutes for the meditation. I hope you like it. As I said, it's been really well received at other places. I've taken a few things and combined them. But the goal, like anything, is to help us touch back into, to embody, to live, to experience the truth of what we are. And so you guys don't read it, right? Just close your eyes or whatever, listen. This will be in the PDF, so you'll get it if you decide you want to practice it again, okay? So for right now, take a few deep breaths and settle into your seat with your back loosely straight and your hands in your lap or resting softly on your thighs. So we have a physical body, we also have an energy body. And so one of the reasons not to slump when you're meditating, or maybe when you're doing anything, is that it keeps the central channel open and things, so that when the energy's balanced and running, it helps us to touch back into our higher self, our true nature, whatever, okay? So close your eyes, settle in, and feel, for right now, before we, so feel the support of the earth coming up through the chair. Right, this earth that's always been with us, that we wouldn't be here in this embodiment in this moment without. But no matter what we've done or what we've thought or whatever, the earth has always been providing for us. So take a few moments now, kind of what I was saying before, to reflect on everything and everyone that supports your embodied life, that's brought you to this point and this time and place. So the plants, and the insects and the other animals who work and die that we might live. Our biological ancestors, human ancestors, our family, friends, our pets. The people who deliver our mail and make our clothes, the ones who raise and harvest our food and sell it, who keep our cell phones and our electricity and our water running, even when they're working in hard conditions. The beings who feed and clothe those people. The sun, wind, rain, air, Mother Earth, who gives us pretty much everything in one way or another. When we really stop to consider this, it's clear that we are a gathering of the kindness of others, totally interdependent in ways that we tend to forget. So take some few moments now and appreciate this. Feel the gratitude for this. All these, the earth, all these beings, all these people, the circumstances. Now take a few deep conscious breaths, feeling the breath move, say around your nose, feeling the chest rise up and down, the belly. And imagine, breathe in light and space. And when you exhale, exhale density and exhale holding, exhale tightness. Breathe in light and space. And breathe out whatever no longer serves you. Thoughts, memories, beliefs. Breathe out whatever no longer serves you. Don't think about it. Your system already, Buddha's nature is always calling us home, our Christ consciousness. Right? But just by intention, things will move by intention. Breathe out whatever no longer serves you. So now imagine someone you'd like to wish well to, or someone who elicits difficult feelings in you. You can take your choice. Become aware of that other person who is just like you. Take a deep breath, deep conscious breath. This person, or you can use their name, has a body and mind just like me. This person has feelings, emotions, and thoughts of their own, just like me. This person, at some point, has been sad, hurt, angry, confused, disappointed, and fearful, just like me. And take a deep breath. This person has experienced physical and emotional pain, abuse and betrayal, deep suffering, just like me. This person wishes to be free from pain and suffering, to be safe, healthy, and cherished, just like me. Take a deep breath and feel this. This person, in their deepest self, unbroken and undefended, wishes to do no harm in the world, to be peaceful, kind, and helpful to others, just like me. This person wishes, in their most pure self, to be free from prejudice, jealousy, greed, anger, and ignorance, just like me. This person wishes to be deeply happy, just like me. Take a deep breath now, calling a clear image of this person to mind. This person, as difficult or as easy as it may be to imagine, has Buddha nature, Christ consciousness, has that of God in them, just like me. Now take a deep breath, seeing this person clearly in front of you, or seeing this person clearly. And now feel this in your heart. I wish for this person to have the inner strength, resources, and social support to navigate life without causing undue harm, just like me. If you wish, you can breathe in love and breathe out love or light to this person and these wishes. So as you exhale, imagine that light or love, whatever calls you, as you exhale it to this. You can breathe in if you want, breathe in their suffering, breathe out light and love to them in your exhales. I wish for this person to be free from pain and suffering, to feel their connection to and belonging in the community of all beings, just like me. Take a deep breath and see the face of this human being. I wish for this person to realize the beauty and strength of their heart, to feel loved, and to experience utmost trust in their lives, just like me. Because this person is a human being, I wish for them to experience their humanity, kindness, and generosity, just like me. So now let's do a little breath meditation for the last 5 minutes. So take in some conscious breaths. 25% of your attention on the breath, 75% relax. So it's not to just get real concentrated. So in this awareness knows, is cognizant of sensations in the body, the sounds in the room, sensations, sounds of my voice, and thoughts. And if thoughts rise, let them come and go like clouds, waves in the ocean. Don't push them away. Don't attach to them. No judgment, no judgment, no judgment. Being with what is, in the silence, in the space. And the love and peace between breaths and between thoughts. It's home. So if you found some peace and some space, just notice that nothing external has changed. That this is always within you and accessible without having to change the circumstances of our lives. And when you're ready, it's almost 11. And I know some of you have things you need to do. So when you're ready, take a few deep breaths, feel your body. Just sense into your body, does it need to move in some way? If so, let it move as it needs to move. Stand up, stretch, twist. I didn't think to bring a bell, so I can't ring it. So I'll say ding, and after the second ding, when you're ready, open your eyes, come back and open your eyes. But see if you can open your eyes with a soft, kind of fuzzed out gaze, with attention still kind of inward. So you'll still see things. You won't trip or anything when you get up to leave. But see how it is to rest with the eyes, with the attention kind of inward, as I said, not in a soft, kind of fuzzed out gaze. Okay. So, ding. Ding. And so one more thing I forgot to mention, but I did want to point out, right? This awareness, this knowing is always here even when we're not aware of it. Because if it wasn't there when we were sleeping, we would never wake up to an alarm clock. So I guess I'll say namaste, gasho and Zen, my heart and your heart are one. Namaste, namaste, from the Hindu tradition, namaste, I honor the place in you in which the entire universe dwells. I honor the place which is of love, of truth, of light, and of peace. You are in that place in you. Don't turn this off. We can stay later. When you are in that place in you, and I'm in that place in me, we are one. So for those of you who need to go, namaste. Thank you for coming. And if any of you want to stay and have maybe 15 minutes or whatever, question and answer and sharing and talk afterwards, I'm happy to stay. Can we stay and leave this up, Colin?
I think we can, yeah.
We don't have to leave. So anyway, it's been good to be with you. Thank you. And I will send the PDF to Colin to send out.
And
And so we can look, we did not see any of the chats, so I guess we can look at some of the chats as well.
there's also, I'm putting in a, assessment for this program. If you could please fill that out before you leave, but we will definitely leave this up.
So
And
let's go back and see.
oops, here we go. So it says someone's asking, I know I have only a surface level understanding of Buddhist teachings. I'm struggling with the philosophy that suffering is an individual choice. It seems to absolve us of addressing harms in our society. Could you speak on this more?
No, actually, I don't. The suffering part is an individual choice. I don't think it absolves us of addressing harms in our society, because when we get in touch with the truth of who we are, then what we need to do is actually we feel moved to do things. So the other piece that I'm a lot involved in, besides my spiritual path, is social justice work and inclusion and this kind of thing. It's not if, as I said, the point is not to escape this, which is quietude, which is spiritual bypass. But if there is less separation between you and me, and I'm less of a separate self, then when you're suffering, how can I not step in? So Amma, the hugging saint that I told you, one of the reasons I've been following her all this time, and one of the things that I love her, because there are some people in some religious traditions who kind of have that attitude of what you just about, it's all one and whatever, and people exist like that. But Amma said, if it's their karma that fall in it, if it's people's karma to fall in a ditch, right, then it's my dharma, it's my sacred duty to pull them out. So the suffering part is the way we respond, but in some ways, if we're suffering less, maybe we were more motivated and more able to do something more, to do more, right? If I'm really, really suffering, then sometimes it's hard to see clear out of my own self to see what's going on in the rest of the world. And somebody says it's not that's what's happening to us, but yeah, it's the way we respond to it. But as a community, our responses matter. Absolutely, our community, our responses matter. And because we're not separate, we have a responsibility to do something about it, at least to me. It doesn't resolve me. It gives me more responsibility to, when I step out of the separate independent self, it gives me more responsibility to do something and address that. Is that helpful? Somebody say something. Yeah, we are determined by our thoughts. That's, yes. Anybody want to say anything? Unmute? Can you put it on gallery?
Yeah, sure.
So we're turning on gallery, at least I can see y'all.
We have some.
Yes, exactly, Jackie. So less energy directed toward responding to myself, use energy and direction towards others, right? And perhaps in some ways, it also gives me more wisdom in the way that I respond. So Sarah, you're welcome. Yes, Yesenia, thank you. Anybody else? Oh, come on, you guys. Or if you need to leave, then that's fine. As I said, I'm kind of retired, so I have more freedom in my schedule. Oh, all right. Listen, where do I practice? I actually practice with a Zen group in State College. It's called Six Rings. We meet on Thursday nights at Rock Hill School in Linden Hall. So actually, let me type in my email, and if you're interested in this or whatever, then shoot me an email or anything else for that matter. Oops, AIL. So the other thing to know, can you fix that?
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing to know is that there'll be some Tibetan monks coming. So that's my email. If you'd like it, if you have questions or comments, if you want to know where I practice and connect with that, take the email, shoot me an email. There's also Tibetan monks coming to Pascarella to do a Samandala the last week in October. So I really strongly suggest you come. Just being around them, your heart opens and your mind settles. That's my experience. Because these are ones who've been practicing for some of them 30 years, right? So make sure you come and check that out. Oh, I don't think, oops.
Yes, I will be sending out more information as we have things about the Buddhist monks. And oops. Oh my goodness, everybody's.
Yeah, everybody, it could be easy. We can't read as fast as y'all are typing in. So yes, but the point being, if what we're doing is getting so focused on our own stuff, which could be including self-worth, then, as I said, some people do this, some spiritual or religious people do this too, that I think we're missing the whole point. In fact, that to me indicates a lack of realization. right? So it's, as, as Matthew was saying, if, no, so did it go back up to?
It did.
It went
I'm
back up
sorry.
to the thing, so we're not, this is a lifelong journey. Yes, these teachings or any of this kind of teaching, I think it's a, yes, it keeps, sorry you guys, it keeps going up, I don't know if you can see it, keeps going up to the top, so there is so much to unlearn. And it's possible, it's really possible. Anybody else? So just, as I said, keep the, we can undo it. If you wanna, actually, I didn't mention this because this is about Buddhism. Check out Byron Katie. Byron Katie is a woman, she teaches in no tradition at all. But I've also been on retreat with her, and you could just feel the love energy and the warmth, the heat standing around her. So she wrote a book called Loving What Is, and it is one of the best ways. She does something called the work. You can find it at byronkatie.com or .org online. She wrote a book called Loving What Is, some of the best ways to work with dismantling or undoing thought and taking back projections that I've ever seen or run into.
So the name in the chat.
Byron Katie, BYRON KATIE. And just put a dash, and it's called Love. The first book is called Loving What Is. There's another book that's really helped me called I Need Your Love, Is That True? Loving What Is. And that's another one I recommend, depending on where you get stuck, right? Or what your particular issues are, but that has been really helpful for me. Another thing, if in Christian centering prayer, there's so much we're so alike, we folks, right? Christian centering prayer, they have a thing called the welcoming prayer. So, I accept and whatever, welcome. I don't remember it exactly, whatever is, I let go of my need for affection, security, and control. So if I look back, at least in myself, and I look at where do I get stuck, usually the content is around affection, security, or control. Think about it. So there's another practice for you. Oh, so Byron Katie, I Need Your Love, the follow on to I Need Your Love, is that true? The name of the book is I Need Your Love, Is That True?
Okay.
Because if you say I need your love, that's where we get stuck. You can also find Byron Katie and actually Mingyur Rinpoche and Pema Chodron and things online, YouTube and other places. So the people that the Thich Nhat Hanh, if you want to check out, here's another one, Thich Nhat Hanh, you know how to spell Thich Nhat Hanh?
Used to.
There's an H there, Thich Nhat Hanh. There's another poem, read the poem, Call Me by My True Name. Any of his books, actually. Call Me, it's a poem, and it's called Call Me by My True Name. This is back down to, just like me. And then back down to this other, Jackie's other point, if you look at Thich Nhat Hanh, he was an activist. He was a peace activist. So he has this realization, he has this practice, and he didn't just like sit on his zafu all day, spacing out. He was really, really, really a peace activist. Okay, and then another thing I'll put out, Thomas Merton, who's a mystic activist in the Christian tradition, Merton, M-E-R-T-O-N. Another one worth reading.
You said
T-O-N.
T-O-N, Merton.
But he made some comment, he said, called, and it said that Thich Nhat Hanh, even though this is not a book, this is Thich Nhat Hanh, even though, by different religion and different race and whatever, we're more similar than are people in my own tradition who look like him. So Thich Nhat Hanh wrote a book called Living Buddha, Living Christ, which is actually a really good book. So that's TNH, just put TNH in. I've got all kinds of these things, y'all. Thich Nhat Hanh, Living Buddha, Living Christ. If you're interested in the tie into Christianity, say. Oh, so the other piece, since y'all have my email. So one of the things that I was doing regularly, I'm not doing so much, but I have thing called inclusion expansion opportunities, and when I find out about things that particularly draw me in, that are going on in the community, I send it out to actually maybe about 400 people. So if you want to be on that Google list, email me, IEO, I just call it IEO, and say you want to be on the IEO list, and I'll add you. So that would be, I just sent stuff, the last thing I sent out was about Hispanic Heritage Month, and about this coming Saturday, there's a multicultural unity fair put on by Community Diversity Group that is at the Borough Building. At the Borough Building, that's a lot of fun. I'm gonna be there taking pictures. So
Email address.
at gmail.com, that's my email address again. Of course.
Of course.
Okay, so, and I'm happy to add you to that list. But there's also things going on for Hispanic Heritage Month. And that's going, so honestly, you guys, I sent it out for probably 5 or 6 years, and some days it used to be 14 pages, and now I've moved on to some other things, but I still send out some occasional things to that, for that list, okay? Oops. Yes, many, many, many thanks to you too. I hope you got something out of this. And it's been a joy to be with you, even online. And wiggling thumbs. And I hope to see you when the monks come, or at the Multicultural Unity Fair. There's also, by the way, one of the things I'm also involved now with Center for Performing Arts, because Cedar Frederick has come in and she's bringing in all kinds of diverse things. So check that out. If you're a student at Penn State, most of the student tickets there are only $5. So check out, there's all kinds of good stuff coming out at the Center for Performing Arts at Eisenhower. As I said, for those of your students, check it, and if you're not, but she's really, to me, changed added so much more diversity and inclusion. She's really focused on diversity, inclusion, and access, belonging. And so I'm now on a leadership council at the Center for Performing Arts because I so am bought into her vision and what she's doing, okay? So check out the Center for Performing Arts as well.
Thank you also.
Okay, y'all. Well, namaste, gasho, be well, be kind to yourselves as well, right? Includes everyone. Peace. Thank you, Matthew. Okay, I think we can just